Everywoman Walking, a different experience of world travel with Dr. Maureen Stone of Barbados. That's coming up right now on Carib Nation. Stay tuned.
Howard University in the United States ran the first ever seminar on black travel writing, and I was the keynote speaker. The subject of my address was racial profiling, and I drew on some stories of my travels. Some funny, some not so funny, which showed how racial profiling had tried to spoil my travel experience many times, but I never let it. I've been traveling since I was 19 when I left Barbados for India. And on the whole, it's been a positive and life-enhancing experience. So much so that travel is now a part of my normal life. So in spite of the people who use such tactics as racial profiling to spoil my travel experience, I never let them.
Dr. Maureen Stone, welcome so much to Carib Nation. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure
Nice
to have
be here.
You have written a book called Black Woman Walking, and it's you talk about the sociology of walking.
Mm-hmm.
That is something we don't hear much about, and as you said, most people don't think of black women on hikes. Tell us a little bit about how you came into that. What is it about hiking that really fascinates you?
Right, well, actually, to start with the sociology of walking bit, it's really quite funny. In one of the presentations I did, there were some students, and sociology students, and they said, we haven't heard anything about sociology of walking. It's not in any of our academic programs. And I just started laughing. I said, well, it's not, because there's no such thing. It's just, it's me. And he said, I said, yeah, but I'm a sociologist and I walk. And therefore, I've used my sociological training and background to bring to this human activity, right? I said, and therefore I classify it as the sociology of walking. But that, but until other people see the wisdom of that, then I'm just
it's all yours.
Said, so you look in vain to find the sociology of walking. And you see, and like for another example of that way of thinking is like I'll come back to your main question in a minute, but this does bear on it. At the World Summit in Johannesburg, I think it was in 2000 was it 2002? Yeah. I happened to be in Johannesburg at the same time, and I had a little accident with my arms, and I couldn't drive. I had a car car, and I said I had to change the car, because I needed. Yeah, that's right. I had to get an automatic or something. And the car people said there was no cars in Durban. There's not a car to be had. Why? Because all these delegates, and then when I went eventually through contacts of mine, I went on the fringe of the car. They said, there's not been one single discussion on walking. They're at the continent of Africa, where the vast majority of people walk. They're talking about the Earth Summit. They're talking about protecting the planet that we live on through using less fossil fuel, gas and all that. Right. But there wasn't a minute. I think somebody said we didn't even spend a minute talking about walking, and everybody laughed, right? So this is the kind, when I say the sociology of walking, this is, if I don't like conferences, I wouldn't go to anything like that. I wouldn't waste my time, because most of the time I spend fuming and angry and, at the waste of resources at the time, that people could be, and the talk. So I don't go, but sometimes interesting people are there, and if they, if it's through my contacts, I might be on the fringe. And I was on the fringe. In fact, I went to the premiere of an Australian film about 3 Aboriginal girls who did walk. I mean, they walked over 15,000 kilometers to escape from being forcibly removed from Aboriginal community. you know, and brought to be turned into white Australians. So that was the kind of thing that interests me, and so I, you know, that was thing. So when I talk about the sociology of walking, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring walking away from this kind of stylized, you know, dress up, you know, only middle class people and this and that, the right gear and all that, and into just, you know, we all walk, you know, so that's why in the book you'll see at the back it says that, you know, when people say to me, when did you start walking? I said,
from birth.
you know, yeah, and because you're getting into that kind of fanciful mode, and that irritates me because, you know, on the one hand, there are people, like the women I talk about in the book in Africa, who we gave a lifter, who were walking with a baby on their backs, carrying luggage and something on their head, and they were walking 50 kilometers and thought nothing of it. It's just in a day's work. When they got to their home, they had to put the kids down, do that, and then go and start cooking.
Start work.
Yeah, that's when the real work begins. And then to contrast that, you have people, you know, who walk from the Cape to Cairo, you know, because it's there, you know, and they're cool. So, you know, I enjoy walking. Walking is part of my life. You know, if I've got a choice between picking up car keys and driving somewhere, if it's under 4 or 5 miles, I will walk. Yeah, for preference. If it's really pouring down, I have to admit, hand on heart, or it's very cold. You know, I'm not. You know, but we're, you know, being sensible. You know, one thing, and I enjoy it. It's healthy. It's you know, but it is really a part of my life. And people ask questions like, you know, how many miles, and I don't sit down counting miles. I'm not interested. I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. If I'm in a state and I get worked up about something, I'll go and take a walk because it's
that's always the best therapy.
Yeah, it's better than taking tranquilizers any day.
That's true.
And you get out there, and you know, by the time you finish, you've forgotten what it was that you know
that got you
and so on. So there's all those aspects. There's the sociological. There's the whole poverty and you know, the women's role. You know, the fact that women we don't just walk, just, you know, but you carry children. Everything. And then there's the fun side and so on. So I like to sort of widen the discussion a little bit and
take it,
you know, take
the extremities as far as you can.
Yeah.
When did you decide to walk around the world, so to speak?
Well, I didn't decide. You know, I'm terrible about deciding. I used to, with my other hat on as an academic, I used to do research, and I did some research on decision making, and it really, all it told me about myself was that I'm terrible about. I mean, things creep up on me, you know, because I began then to, like, you know, I don't know about you, but I tend to, if you do things, you then tend to put them to yourself and think, you know, how did I make these key decisions? You know, and I realized I didn't really. Even you know, most things I've just got to fall into. Yeah, they develop, you know. So and so with walking, I got into like, from my history, you'll know that I was a late starter. I didn't walk till I was about 3, and then I used to walk to school. You know, in Barbados, you walk to school and back again, and so on. It's natural. Not now. People are sort of taken in cars, even the shortest distances, they chauffeured. I'm very glad I was spared that. Then in Calcutta, I went to India when I was 19 to university, and I met Peter there. And he was a great walker. He'd grown up in Devon and Cornwall, and he'd worked in the north of England, in Cumbria, which is lovely walking country. And so it was through him that I got into the idea and the practice of walking for pleasure, specifically going for a walk rather than walking to school or walking here and there as part of your normal activities. And we never bothered about temperatures. In fact, we used to get laughed at. People used to, they expect us to collapse any minute, you know, because we would go walking, you know, 130 degrees.
A Barbadian from the sun walking in the cold.
I know. And then we got married and lived in England, and you know, walking has just been a part of our lives, really. And so when I would travel, and when I was working with universities, obviously there was a month of travel involved, but we also travel a lot with the kids, and of course every year we went back to the Caribbean, and in the Caribbean we never stayed in just Barbados. We always went to other islands and take the kids, because we wanted just them, you know, to experience things. Right. And we always walked around, you know, like Dominica, wherever. So it's just a natural thing. I don't set out to say I'm going to here and I'm going to walk, you know, there and so many miles or so on. It's just, you go somewhere. China, when we went, we just wandered around, made friends with people with our little phrase books, you know. and
Well,
very
that's the
little
great
English.
fun about it.
They had okay. All the Chinese that we met could say okay. So between their okay and our Mandarin, we managed, and you know, we had great times, and we did lots of walks. But we got, you know, we had problems. We got stolen from.
I was going to ask you, what are some of the adventures that you remember
exactly.
most?
Those are the kind of things when you live and you travel and you live like ordinary people, then you have the same experiences ordinary people have. I mean, people who go on buses, because if you walk, then you know, you go on a bus, then you walk around, then you get the bus back, whatever, and so you run those same risks. And so, you know, in China we got. We didn't even know we were being stolen from. They were really, really clever. We were in this bus and Peter's pockets were snipped and all his credit cards and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and anyhow, eventually we managed to find this hotel, 5-star hotel, where the manager, when we started our story, and we said we were on a bus, and he looked at us, you know, and he's tall, especially for a Chinese man. He was really tall, and he looked down at us and he said, on a bus, you know. You know, on a bus, what can you expect sort of thing, you know. Anyhow, there we were. But you know, I mean, to balance that, the friends we've made, the contacts
you made some great contacts.
I mean, even in that same China, that same experience, I got invited to somebody's home. She was so much wanted to share with me her home, to show me her son's room and all his Beatles posters and everything. And my friend, my colleague, former colleague who was living in China at the time in Hong Kong, he told me before I set out, he said, the Chinese people never invite you to their home. He said, if they entertain you, they take you to a restaurant.
Really?
Yeah. So I went back and I said to him, well, not boasting or anything.
Something special there. I don't know what
we just clicked, me and this lady, you know, and I find that, you know, you go around, you meet people, you know, and language, you know, we talk about verbal and non-verbal and, you know, it's all very
Body
academic.
language,
But in fact, when reality strikes, it really does matter. And really, communication can happen.
Vital.
Yeah. And it can happen between people without language. You know, I mean, me and this girl, we just hit it off. We just liked each other. We got on, and she was, you know, she just wanted to include me in her world, and I was happy to be included.
Wow.
You know, and we even corresponded afterwards, you know. But it got difficult because there was a limit to how many Chinese-speaking people. Yeah. She found somebody, and I found somebody, and we sent cards for 2 or 3 years, but then it just petered out.
You also had some interesting experiences in India.
Oh yeah, India was my university, my prison, my my love, my hate, my everything. I've just spent some time in India. Actually, in the last month I spent in India, and yet when I left India, in '65, I thought I would never go back there. You know, when I first went as a student, it was terrible. I mean, people just weren't used to black people. Didn't like in India. Blackness has a very, very, very pejorative connotations. Very, very, and you know the racism, and it was so like unapologetic, so blatant, so in your face, so you know it was just really, really horrible.
It's interesting. Dr. Keen Gibson, Guyanese, has written that book titled "The Cycle of Racial Oppression in Guyana," and she talks about people not understanding the depth of that discrimination, I suppose one might call it, against black people that Indians have, and that until people in Guyana understand that, they will not understand the racial problems that they have in Guyana, the depth to which the roots of those racial problems.
Yeah, I understand that, and I see that, and I wrote a little bit about that in that book too, about my visit to Guyana, because what I found there was that there were equal negative feelings, that the Indians had come with those feelings and the black people now mirrored them. So that, for example, I have friends in both communities, and I would be with my black, who are called African Guyanese friends, and Indian friends here, we all together. And then if the Indians move away or something, they would start, and then they start talking about them. And they say, don't trust them coolie people, you know, and things like that. And I say, excuse me, I don't like words like that, you know, I hate it. It really goes through. I say, is he a coolie? Do you see him carrying luggage? Because that's where the word comes. He said, no. Well, then why are you saying that? And then the similar thing with the Indian people. And the funny thing is that I'm kind of I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously African origin, but yet when I'm with people, they tend to say things. And so, you know, it's really quite thing. But yes, I mean, when I was in India just a few weeks ago, there was a film on there called Black. And that really, the title of that really fascinated me. So I thought I must go and see this film. And everybody said to me, you know, it's a Hindi film. Of course, all my friends, I got friends, all my close friends, you know, in India. And I said, and everybody said that they'd either seen it or they couldn't go and see it this very minute. Because I was only there in Bombay a few days. Sorry, I said Bombay. It should really be Mumbai, because all the names have changed now back to original names. Yeah. And so I went on my own. I said, I don't mind if it's Hindi. I used to go to Hindi films with my friend Uma, and I can pick up things. I don't mind. In fact, the amount of Hindi that was used was so little, and the whole story was so obvious that actually I got, you know, I would say I got at least 75% of the story. And the blackness was to do with this girl who was born blind. So her world was black. Yes. And so she turned it inside out, and she then validated blackness.
In your letters to South America, you also talk about this, the race.
Oh yes,
because that is something that seems to be coming to the surface more now as well.
I've noticed that, and I think that's all to the good. I mean, I like to say I'm not into knee-jerk reactions. I'm not into classifying everything as racism. You know, I think it's so pervasive that one could be excused for doing that. But at the same time, it takes away from one any personal responsibility for one's own life.
True.
It makes victims of us all. All we got to do is say it's racism. We don't have to do a thing, which is absolutely stupid. So, and racism is always only a part of a story, the same as anything is only ever a part of any story. But to have South America put forward as a beacon that other people, I mean, that was just laughable. It was absolutely hilarious, really. I mean, there's people in South America that slavery, you could almost say, hasn't been abolished, really. And again, the values that are expressed and so on. I was told in Costa Rica that there was a time when people of Jamaican and Caribbean weren't allowed to come up beyond the coast. There wasn't a law actually stating, but it was understood that you didn't go.
Cross.
And things like that. So I mean, where's this society?
And of course, you still have in places like Argentina and Brazil, especially.
Yeah, Brazil too.
You also talked about a specific experience in Canada.
Oh yes.
On the train.
Was it on the train?
I think it was going on the train in Canada.
Yeah, on the train I met this lady and we became friends.
Yes.
And we kept up the friendship for quite a number of years.
You had two types of experiences in Canada, yes.
And that was just one of those things that, happen between women. I think, anyhow, maybe between men as well, but since I happen to be a woman. And we were actually from very dissimilar. I mean, she was a Christian and all that and very much into that religion and stuff. And I was, and really we didn't, on the face of it, you wouldn't think we would, have much to say to each other. But in fact, we did. And then I think during that same time, I had the other experience now, where this woman actually told me that the toilet, when I was asked her where the toilet was, I was actually on an official visit. And the guest of the judges, she didn't know that. She just saw this little black woman sat there. And when I said, where's the toilet? She told me in the basement. So I just sat there, kept my legs crossed, and smiled, and when the judges who'd been at lunch, I think, because we all went to different places for lunch, and I had to do something. I forget what the reasons was now, but I came back then early, and that was when I said, and they came in, and I said, and they said, oh, there? And I said, where's the ladies' room? And they said, there, and it was right there. So I just got up and went in, and when I went in, who did I see at the sink? Who did I see but the same lady who told me? Now this is the kind of, I don't know how you would see this, but this is the kind of thing I think which is very challenging. Because on the one hand, you think, as she had the tap open, you think, now shall I just go and push her head in? Or what? Now I resist it. I just think about things like that, and I enjoy the thought, and then I put it on hold, and I go to the toilet, because don't forget I had my legs crossed for a while, and I come out, and I say to myself, if she's still, I couldn't even decide whether to take it up or not.
To say anything.
To say anything or not, because I felt if I said anything, so I think, shall I just let it go? Just she can see that I found her out.
Of course.
It's obvious I found her out.
Right.
Shall I just leave it at that?
Let her
and then
deal
I
with
said
that.
to myself, no, I tell you what, I set a little task. I said, if she's still there when I come out the toilet, then I'll say something. That's the sort of stupid thing I do, you know. And I play these card games
with yourself.
And I say, if I get out the patience this time, then I'll do so. So this was a kind of patience. I said, if she's still there when I come out, I'll say something. Hoping that she isn't there because I really don't want to say anything. So I come out and she's there. So I got no choice now, like, because I've set myself this that. So I said to her, I said, I think you might have a problem. I said, do you think you might have a problem? I said to her, I think you might have a problem. Do you think you've got a problem? So she kind of shifted from one foot to another. She didn't say she didn't have a problem, but she more or less admitted she had a problem, really. So I said, I think you need to work on that, you know, because it's not nice.
Oh, that was a nice way to deal with it.
That's only because I give myself time, and I made myself
You have to give yourself time to think. Do you think then that walking has allowed you to do a lot more thinking?
I think, oh, for sure.
Yeah, so that you spend a lot more time ruminating over things. And has that then affected your way of dealing with things, your philosophy?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. I'm not sure that ruminating is the right word, though. I think my thinking is more structured than that.
Okay.
I think, you know, it's kind of problem solving type of thing. And not that by the end of this walk I must do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Not as much as that. But certainly, yes, I want to get some clarity.
Right.
And and that would always be at the back of my mind, whether I state it or not.
Right.
Yeah, and I think also that my nature is a bit impetuous. And I think that's that's brought a lot calmness and more reflective. I think I've always been reflective, but a deeper reflectiveness, really. And you know, and as like I said, when I saw at the sink, you know, my instinct would have been to go and just which I think I would have been perfectly entitled to do, but you see, I didn't.
Yeah.
But the thought of it was satisfying enough. I didn't need to do anything more than that.
Right.
And even to speak about it, I wasn't really sure that I needed to. But you know, I thought
it was important to make the point.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Africa.
Okay.
You, following your success and having written this book, you decided to try taking a walk through Africa and videoing that to some extent.
Not quite like that. The video actually came out of the book, as you say, but not from me, from my readers or non-readers.
Suggesting
especially from young people, saying that they didn't have time. Now look.
That's true, the thickness of the book,
look at the book. But I mean, look at Dickens. I mean, look at, you know, you don't have to sit down and read a book.
Today are not as
you don't have to read a book from cover to cover. Yeah. You can dip in, you can, you know. So, but anyhow, I listened. They said, but also young people said they wanted things on video because, you know, that was their lifestyle and that's cool.
Yeah, it's easy for them.
Other people said, we don't see things like this. We don't see people like you. All we see is this, this, and this, and this is good TV. We want to see things like this on TV. So I thought, well, I mean, I'm not sure about this is good TV business, but, you know, I'll have a go. I'll have a go, why not? So the next time that we were in Africa, and we did a tour, that's me and Peter, we did a tour of Southern Africa, 4 countries, then we did the video. I thought, let's have a go, see what comes out of it.
And how did that turn out? What were your feelings, or did anything change? People having a camera?
No, that wasn't people, you see. It was me and Peter.
But I mean,
the thought of
interaction with any
No, it didn't, because well, you can judge for yourself, but what we did was just say, like, it's just snapshots of natural things. We wouldn't set anything up, we wouldn't stage anything, we wouldn't set out to create anything. We would just take things as they come and in their natural state, and that's what we did. And I'm, you know, I was very, very pleased with the results. I don't think the first one is technically brilliant. I mean, firstly, we weren't experienced enough.
Of course.
But also, just following that style had its hazard with it.
Of course, yeah.
So, for example, you'll see that there's a bit of wind song at one point, and we wondered about doing something about that. And then one of our advisors said, "Look, it's a natural thing. Leave it. If you go interfering with it, you'll probably end up with it." Yeah. So what we have then, what we've been trying to do is postcards from Mother Africa. That's how the videos are labeled.
Right.
bring it into the flame. And it takes the same main title, Black Women Walking, because that's
basically what it is about.
Yeah. And what I've done in the first one then is the visits to Lesotho and Botswana. And the next one that I'm working on currently is Postcard from South Africa. And the subtitle of that is A Rainbow Nation, and there's a question mark about that.
That should be interesting.
Yeah. I think it is, and it's a different kind of film. This one is much more, well, it's shorter for a start because it's 2 countries, but I spent a lot of time in South Africa, had a lot of experiences there, and of course the history and everything else makes it, you know, something that a lot of people ask you about, want to hear about, want to know about, and so on. So it's been much more discursive and so on. So we'll see. It's still being worked on. So.
Yes, you can perfect it as you go along.
Yes.
Any special experiences, especially in a place like Lesotho?
Well, Lesotho. Well, the real big experience for me was the poem that I wrote, A Walk on the Sunny Path. And I'm not even going to, if you want to, you can certainly show that, use that. But how that happened and why that happened, I was just an instrument, really. I just went for this walk and these words just kind of emerged and just came into my head, and I just, luckily, I always carry my bike, and I had a pen, always, and my water, of course, and a pen and a pencil. So I just sat on this rock and I wrote this thing down. And it really was about me identifying with and embracing Africa, with all that means. The Africa of the famines and the wars and the badness and the goodness and the love and the hate and the slavery that we came out of and was so, you know, and I'm always having this argument with my African friends, you know, they say you ran away, or they say it wasn't us, you know, the Europeans got you, you know, how did they get us, you know, and you know, the unwillingness to acknowledge, you know, which, like the historian in Ghana was saying, till you actually acknowledge and accept, you cannot actually move on.
You can't deal with the issues.
You can't deal with those issues. But that doesn't mean that you don't love and you don't accept. Acceptance is accepting the totality of what we are. So.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you. It's exciting reading about some of your experiences across the world. I think that one can not ask for a better or more enriched life than to have met so many different types of people and had so many different types of experiences.
I have to agree with you. I have been blessed in that respect.
So that is a
even
great
with,
blessing.
like, as you know, the downside and the upside and all that, it has still been a very enriching.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed it.
Good.
Thanks a lot.